I'm Sean Sharma.
And we have our first amazing guest, Anjelika Washington.
Hi!
Welcome.
Oh my gosh, this is so cool. Now we're like really doing it.
We're doing the thing. So we are so excited to talk to Anjelika because we want to talk to actors and artists that are like on the cusp of something big and kind of making their big break. And Anjelika has been at this and hustling for years. And the things she has coming out in this next year, she is going to be like a household name in no time. She is in Netflix's Tall Girl, playing the best friend for Rita. She is going to be one of the stars of the new DC show, Stargirl. She has a new film that Amy Poehler is directing, Moxie, that will come out next year, right? On Netflix. And like a dozen other credits to her name. CBS's Young Sheldon, Shameless on Showtime.
And my personal favorite, We're Not Friends.
Yes!
With Ashley B.
Yes, Ashley Nansen's show, and it was hilarious. So we're just really excited to like talk about your journey, how you got here, and what's coming next.
Well, and I got to butt in for a second because when Lauren brought up your name, I was like, that's right, because we met like, I don't know, how long ago was that? 8 years ago, something like that?
No, it was like 5.
Was it?
But still,
the
long
commercial
time
class
ago.
or whatever?
The commercial class.
This was only 5 years ago?
Yeah.
Man.
Where does time fly?
It's okay.
But that's just so cool. It's so fun to see the careers of people that we've met just kind of blossom and change and evolve and all that. So it's so cool.
Right, yeah. I was thinking about that on the way here. I was like, oh my gosh, I took Sean's commercial class it was like a year before I took the acting program that I met you in.
Yes.
So I just remember at that time, I mean, obviously I had like legitimately 0 credits. I had like only been on set for background work and things like that, which was actually great because I became union doing background. I know a lot of people look down on that, but like it is what it is.
No, that's fantastic.
Disney Channel gave me money, okay? So that's all that matters. And was able to join the union, so that was really great. But I remember at that time I was taking that class and I was just like looking for help everywhere, like anywhere I could find it, you know? So I was just taking as many classes as I could afford is what I was doing. And like workshops, because that was really big at the time, taking lots of workshops with casting directors and things like that. And then...
Because that's where that class was at Act Now.
Exactly, it was at Act Now, right, exactly. And so at the time, I think I had bought this like package that I had been like saving up for. And I think it was like $1,000 or something like that. And I just was able to just like mix and match different workshops and classes and things like that, which I did. And I'm really happy I did that. I mean, I think about it now and I'm like, people are like, did you ever book like shows from like all the workshops you took? I'm like, no, I didn't. But I gained lots of confidence being in front of casting directors.
Is that true? So none of the workshops you didn't get called in off of any of those? Really?
None of them. I got called in. I just didn't book anything.
Oh, sure. Okay. But at least, the relationships.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Okay. So no, I definitely, thankfully, I can say I was definitely called in for
because I consider those to be useful if you at least get called in because now you've built a relationship
Absolutely,
with the office.
Yeah, right, exactly. And so then sometimes you just not the right fit, but like they remember you and they know you and then you still see them later. And I'm a big believer that like, which is something we learned in the acting program we did, but like, it's like a marathon, not a sprint. So sometimes it's not about that one audition. It's the longevity that matters to me because maybe right now I'm on a series, I'm doing all these things, but maybe when I'm like 30, my series might eventually end. And then that casting director I met, now that it would be 8-10 years ago, right? Then it's like, oh, now maybe I'm auditioning for a series regular for a show that they're doing. And they remember me from that time. And you know what I mean? They've grown with me and seen me over the time. So you just never know. So I'm always like, well, it's not about this one audition. You know, it's about like going in and being great every time. And so every time they see me, it's like, okay, she's great. That's right. I remember her. She's great. You know? So that's what
so that brings up an interesting question, which is like, you know, there's a threshold beyond which some people feel like they're spending way more money on their career than they're making, right? And one of the easiest places to feel like you're just spending money that you shouldn't need to spend is on those types of casting director classes or workshops. And that's why there's a lot of sensitivity around it. Like, these should be free, we shouldn't have to pay and all that. And casting people like, hey, I have expertise to offer, my time's valuable and whatever. And so I personally don't regret a single penny that I've spent on any of those types of opportunities. So good. Just
I don't regret any of it. No, I don't regret any of it. And I know a lot of my friends are like really big on like, no, we should not pay to play and and like that whole thing. And I understand where they're coming from, But it's the same thing where like some actors who are also those same friends get to the point where they're like, I don't do free work. And I'm like, okay, well, you don't do free work. Why should they do free work? You know what I mean? They're giving their time and they're teaching us things that like, you don't teach actors for free. Like if they're like, oh, I'm going to do coaching. Are you doing it for free? Like, no, you're not doing that for free. You're not coaching kids for free. You're charging them. So it's the same thing when you really think about it, you know? But I don't regret any of it, like at all. And I still like have seen some of those casting directors like recently actually, and they're like, oh my gosh, it's so good to see you, and like just how much I've grown and how much I've done, because literally at the time I didn't have a single credit. Like I had never been on set saying a line, you know? So a lot has changed.
Well, and that makes sense that it also helped so much with confidence and just getting comfortable in front of casting directors, if that was kind of like the first time you were getting to be in front of them.
Right. I used to have like a really big I would feel inferior to them, like as if casting directors were so superior over me, and like instead of looking at it as like this collaboration thing, and like they give me like direction and then I take it and then I try things and it's fun and it's like this experience. I used to think of it as like I'm going in and like I'm inferior to them and I'm less than, you know, instead of looking at it as like we're all working to make this project great. And like they want to find the best person for the role so they can bring that best person to their producers or the showrunner and be like, you have to see this person, you know what I mean? And I want to be that person. So it's just collaborating with them and like really like a well-oiled machine versus like going in and like I used to go in and audition and like be really timid and I wouldn't really say anything. And I'm a talker. Like, why would I do that? Why would I not go in and be like, hey, how are you? It's great. Like, I'm excited to do this. I have questions. You got answers. Let's figure this out, you know? So now I don't do that shit, but that definitely came from workshops. Like,
what caused that shift? Like, how did you make that mental shift from being they have all the power to no, we're both artists creating this?
I think at the time when I was just getting started and going into workshops, I had that thought that they were so superior, but then I just learned that they're so damn human. Like they sit and talk with you for hours. My favorite workshops at the time that I did were like the 3-4 week workshops. So not like the one day, because in one day they don't really get to know you, don't get to know them, and they only can see you do one thing. But like in 4 weeks, they get to see you do 4 different characters, 4 different things. And at that point you talk a little bit and you come early and you stay a little late and you chat and you know what I mean? And be just seeing how human they are and like how also the moment when I learned like when they're done with the job, they're going to look for another job in the same way that actors are. Totally. That blew my mind. I thought like, if you worked for a show on ABC, like you work for ABC. Like I just didn't understand. Mm-hmm. And then once I really learned that, I was like, oh shit, so we're all hustling. It's all the same. Like we're all in this together at the end of the day, you know? And also going in, I think auditioning in general, right before I booked The Legend of Master Legend, which was my first series regular, that pilot, that whole summer, I was auditioning my ass off at USC, UCLA, LMU, like doing all the student film auditions that I was just self-submitting on Actors Access and LA Casting, because I had an agent, but like I still hadn't booked anything, and I wasn't booking anything at the time. And I learned that like just auditioning, like just doing it, going in rooms with people I don't know, I've never met. You don't know. Ryan Coogler, was at USC directing, and like he did all those student films before he's freaking Ryan Coogler, you know? Yeah. So you just never know who people are going to be. So I just have never put this thing of like, I'm not doing that. Like, I'm always like, if it's a great story and it's written well, like I'm willing to do it. There's never been that, maybe now I'm a little bit more picky, but now I'm making my living as an actor. So now I feel like I'm in a place where I can say like, unless it's a friend's project, I'm probably not just gonna like go into like a USC student film, you know? I'd have to really love the script. I'd probably have to know someone on it or like a friend in a film school. Like my friend Nikki, who's at AFI right now, love to do any of her projects. And she's like, are you sure? I'm like, girl, what? Yes, you don't have to pay me. Like, this is great. I want to support you.
Amazing.
So yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, I want to rewind a little bit.
Okay.
So when you were growing up, your family, no one's involved in show business and the industry. So how did you get started in acting? What kind of gave you that passion and that bug?
High school. I did a theater class in high school, ironically, because I was originally in drawing and painting my freshman year of high school, got a D. I really think the teacher was harsh, but whatever. And then my school counselor was like, you got to do something else. Like, you have to do another elective. Like, you can't get a D your first semester of high school. Well, I did, but like, you can't keep this going on. So I was like, oh my gosh, well, I had just watched our school do Fiddler on the Roof. And I was like blown away. My high school has an amazing like drama program. And that's all to Jennifer Razalmi. Hello, gorgeous. She's my high school drama teacher who I love and I still keep in touch with. And she actually, really quick, just want to throw that out there. She threw this huge premiere for Tall Girl in my hometown at her theater, which was so sweet. And so many people came and it was such a really great, I've never seen myself in a theater in my hometown, like ever. So it was really cool.
That's incredible. And that's Bakersfield, right?
In Bakersfield, yeah, amazing. Bakersfield, California. So I took her class and she really poured a lot into her students in general. Like her passion for the arts, and she did theater in LA. She went to school here and then went back to Bakersfield after she graduated college. But I just learned so much from her, and I just soaked it all up like a sponge. And it's like funny because she was like, I didn't really know that you loved theater like that. Like, she just didn't know, because I would audition for the things and I didn't get, the only role I ever got in high school was I was the magic carpet in Aladdin, and I had one line. It was hop a carpet and fly. And that's it. That's it. Like, I wasn't like the huge star at my high school. Like, people think that. I'm like, I got nothing. Like,
I love that. That's like the Michael Jordan where you're like, he didn't make the high school basketball team, right? But look how talented he is. That doesn't mean anything.
Yes. Yeah.
And so, like, there you go, kids. Anjelika Washington, one line in high school. That's it. And look at her now.
Yeah. So you never know. I think she was just like, yeah, you could totally do it. Not really thinking that, I don't think she thought I would do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So then when I was 18, I was like, well, I went to college for a little bit. And then I was like, the hell am I doing here? Like, this is not it. And I went to college for theater, but in Bakersfield, you know, it's such a, like, the theater program had like 9 people in the entire program. So we couldn't really do much. And I was like, yeah, this is not it for me. Mm-hmm. I always knew I wanted to do television and film. Like, I knew that since I was a kid, like watching That's So Raven and like Keke Palmer on True Jackson VP. Like, I just knew that that's what I wanted to do. So I was really happy. Like, I was 18 and I was like, so I'm going to move to LA. And I told 2 of my best friends and they were like, we'll go with you. And I was like, what? So then we literally told our parents I dropped out of school and I moved to LA within 6 days.
Wow. Oh my God.
It was really poor, but I did it.
You did
Quit my job. I worked at Hot Dog on a Stick in the mall.
Oh my
gosh. I was stomping lemonade.
Are those the cute little striped outfits,
the striped outfits with the hat. Yep, that was me. And I was coaching a cheerleading team because I grew up doing all-star cheerleading my whole life. And so I was coaching a cheerleading team at the local high school. And then I quit that real quick. I was like, bye. Gotta go. Going to LA to be an actor.
Oh my God.
And they were all like, what? And I was like, yeah. And then nothing happened for a really long time. And they were like, is she really doing that? I was like, I'm trying, I swear. Because they don't see when you're in the workshops, in the classes, and investing all of your money into that. You know, they don't see that.
They don't see the hustle.
They don't see it, yeah.
When you go back home, it's just like, so what's happening? You're not on TV yet.
Oh my gosh. I'd go back home and I remember one girl who I'd gone to school since kindergarten. Mm-hmm. And I saw her at Wingstop. I was like, hey girl. And at the time she was like married already, because they didn't marry like right. I mean, it's a small town. So, you know, if you're from a small town, it's like they get married right after high school and like start a family while they're like still in college. And I'm like, wow, we're like 20. What are we doing? But anyway, this is just a couple years ago. And so I had went back and she was like, oh my gosh, are you still like trying to be an actor in LA?
Oh.
And I went, trying? It's just like, you just hear it in your head, trying.
Dagger to the heart.
Trying. And I was like, I actually am an actor. But yeah, I'm still in LA. I'm still hustling, still doing it. And she was just like, so like, what are you in that? Like I could watch or I could see. And then that's the kicker, because then I always say, well, what do you watch? Well, I don't really watch TV, so right. I don't know. And I'm like, it's always the people who are like, what would I know that you don't even watch TV. Mm-hmm. So you wouldn't even know if I told you. And there's so many shows, like you probably wouldn't know if that show. Doesn't mean it's not legit. It's just you wouldn't know.
Totally.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's funny because I say to people, I'm like, you know, if you were to tell someone I'm in med school, they're like, wow, you're going to be a doctor.
Yes.
I'm in law school. Wow, you're going to be a lawyer. You know, I'm an actor. Like, wow, you're going to be an actor. You know, I'm in class, I'm in workshops. Wow, you're going to be an actor. But no, people are like, oh, It's like, wait a minute.
actress.
Wait a minute.
Aspiring.
But that's this whole perspective that it's like you got to be in the right place at the right time, that it's not about skill. It's about just innate talent that you're born with. Either you have it or you don't.
Right.
Like, and so they all want to know, like, it's almost like, oh, are you special or something?
Yeah.
As opposed to, are you working your butt off to become a really skilled, performer?
Right.
They just don't compute. Even though in like law and medicine, they know it's all about the training. It is.
Right.
You want the best trained lawyer. You want the best trained doctor.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like, I don't walk up like her, that specific person I'm thinking of. She's a teacher now, but like, imagine if I was like, are you still trying to be a teacher? Like, are you still working on that? Like, that would be rude.
Yeah.
You
I
know?
haven't met any of your students. So
Yeah, I wonder,
is it working?
like,
yeah.
Where do we get that perspective, though? Why do people feel that way about actors?
I think part of it is, I mean, we are one of the only careers where our resume is just a Google away. Like, I can't Google her resume and find out. And also, like, I can't find out just because you're a teacher, like, okay, but how many of your students passed that last test? Like, I can't see how well you're doing in your job, right? Whereas, like, you can just kind of IMDb me or just put my name in and find out, like, how well I'm doing according to your standards. You know what I mean? I think it's just because they can see our jobs, like, see what we're doing with our jobs, and not even seeing it because they're not on set. You're just seeing the final product. You're not seeing the 16 hours I spent for 7 days. You know what I mean? Or
like if you were in a feature or a series and then you put all this time and effort in, you work with amazing people and you just happen to be cut out of that episode or that film, it's like, oh. It's like,
Yes.
if I can't see it in the thing, then it doesn't count.
Same. And like, even with Shameless, people are like, I watched Shameless and like, you were barely in it. I'm like,
They said that?
Yes, I
Oh my
know.
God.
Some people just they don't realize, they're not sensitive. They don't get it because they're not artists.
See, I'm spoiled because I've worked in casting almost the entire time I'm out here. People don't say shit like that to me.
Because they know how hard you work.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, but I shot 3 scenes with like an Emmy nominated actor. Like, I didn't, like, just because they got cut out, and well, all of it got cut except for like a page, right? So like a few seconds, like I had like 8 lines maybe in total. But I'm like, but I still got to work with William H. Macy and he was great. And I shot 3 scenes with him and that was big for me.
Yes.
Like for me, especially at that place, it was my first guest star. It was only my second job. So it was after I had done Legend of Master
Your
Legend.
second job was a guest with William H. Macy.
Right?
Jeez.
It's
Incredible.
crazy. I could shoot 3 scenes with him. Anthony Hemingway directed it, like, and I had known who he was, so it was like a really big deal for me at the time, and the experience was just crazy in general. And then, yeah, of course, it like mainly got cut out and whatever, but it doesn't take away what I did. Like, that was more than any acting class I've paid for.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, those experiences. So I'm
Why?
like,
What about it?
yeah, seeing the way he works, I think. I had a really crazy experience. I mean, as I'm learning now, everyone who I've met who I've randomly met who's like, oh, I guess they're on Shameless or I've been on Shameless. They don't print sides for you, like, period. And like, my call time was like 10 a.m. and they called me at 8 being like, hey, can you get here early? Can you be here in an hour? And I was like, well, I live an hour away, but yeah. So I just like got ready, went there, and then I got there and they're like, hey, did you get the new sides? And I was like, oh, from last night? Like the changes? Yeah, I got them last night. He's like, no, from this morning.
Oh,
and I was
no.
like, no, because I was driving here. And they're like, oh, okay, well, it's in your email. I'm like, oh, can I get a printed copy, like a physical copy? They're like, oh, we don't print sides here.
Oh my
Like
God.
everything you got to look up on your phone or your tablet or whatever you have. And I was like, okay. So I pull up my phone and it's entirely different. And I'm like,
All
on
3
set,
scenes?
In all 3 scenes, I'm in my trailer and I'm like, oh my God. And they're like, but actually we really want to move. So if you can just like get this going. And I'm like, oh God, okay. And so I went straight to hair and makeup. I didn't even sign my paperwork. Like, that's how freaking crazy it was.
Wow.
And then from straight to there, they're like, okay, great. She's done with hair and makeup. All right, let's get a van for Anjelika so we can go to set for rehearsal. And I'm like, no. I just read it one time.
Oh,
like, I didn't even learn it. And so I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be an awful experience. So I get to set. I'm like in the van reading it like a crazy person, like over and over, trying to use every cold reading skill I've ever taken from a cold reading class I've ever had. And so I get there and we rehearse it. And of course, I don't know all the lines. So Anthony's like, you missed that line right there. Or that line, we changed that line. And I'm like, oh my God. And Will was just like, he was like, hey, he just put his hand on my shoulder and was like, you're doing great. You're doing great. Because I think he could see I was frantic. Like I was actually panicking, like having an anxiety attack, freaking out inside. And he was so kind and was just like, you're doing great. He was like, I know this is crazy. We've been doing this for like 8 years now. I think it was in season 9. So like they'd literally been doing that for 8 years.
Wow.
So he's just used to it. He was like, yeah, I just got here and I learned it, but like I'm used to this. This is how we work on this show, and every show is so different. Stargirl would never do that.
Yeah.
Not like on. I mean, actually, they've done that, but to me, but I think maybe I was just ready, so I didn't feel like that, you know. And so we just ran it a little bit, and then they ended up breaking for like lunch, thank God, because they had been there since like 4 a.m. And I called my friend. I spent the entire lunch and bathroom running those lines. Like I just texted them to her and I ran it. And then I was ready and then it was great. And I felt really good. And I had a great day. Amazing. And he talked with me on the way back and was like, you handled yourself really well. We've had some actors come in who have actually cried. And like they were just so overwhelmed with the pressure and you did a really good job. And I was like, thank you. And then I cried because I was like, thank you. Because really I was trying really hard.
Well, and that was William H. Macy that said that to you?
Macy, yeah.
Well, and he and David Mamet have their acting method, right? The practical aesthetics, where it's just...
Oh, I don't even know of this.
Yeah, so I was wondering whether that's part of what has worked its way into his show. Because their method, and I haven't studied it, so I might be butchering it, but my understanding of their method is that just get the words in your body and go. And then as long as you're present and you have the conversation, the words will do the work. As long as you're a primed instrument and, you know, you have your relationships and all that stuff, don't fucking worry about like, you know, too much analysis or all that stuff. Yeah. Just say the words, you know, let the words do the work. And so I wonder if that's part of why that culture has evolved that way.
I'm sure of it now that you say that. I didn't know that he had that method.
Because the number one on the call sheet sets the tone for the entire experience.
Absolutely. Yeah. Right. And I'm sure that that's the way he works. So then it's just the way that they decide that's how they're going to work. You know, this is how we're going to do the show. This is how he thrives. And the show's been, and it is amazing. So I'm sure it was a very easy transition for them. But yeah, that's a really scary method for people who don't know it.
We're like, no, analysis, no.
Right. I'm like, I had no chance to learn. And at that point, it really was like, all I had time to do was learn the lines. Like I didn't have time to sit there and like figure out all this crap.
But what you already maintained was whatever the work you did earlier, at least about relationships and whatever.
Like I knew who I was. I was basically the AT&T girl, and I knew my job was to get him to buy a phone, period. And so that's it. Yeah. And then I'm just learning the lines and go. Wow. Yeah.
Incredible. And so you said that was your second big job. Your first one was booking the series regular for Legend of Master Legend.
Yeah, no credits.
No credits. And your audition story for that is the most inspiring thing I think I've ever heard. I remember I cried the first time you told me that story. Because I was like, oh my God, I could like...
All right, I gotta hear it.
So please share with us how you booked that role.
Wow. Shit. Okay.
No pressure.
No. So... At the time, I had an LA agent. I was with Momentum at the time. And then I had an Atlanta agent. I was with Salt Models and Talent, which I don't think they exist anymore, but I'm really not sure. And so I had done, so really quickly, like 4 months before that, I booked my first job on the Netflix feature film Stepsisters. Flew out to Atlanta, was on my way to the fitting. And they were like, sorry, we cut you from the film. And I was legitimately heartbroken because it was my first job I'd ever booked off tape for my Atlanta agent. And of course I was working as a local hire. So I had to fly myself there. I was working at Starbucks for like $9 an hour. So like this was an expensive trip for me to feel like I wasn't sure if I was about to get reimbursed. Of course I did. Thank God for the union. Amen to that. They really fought for me because they tried to not pay me because they're like, it's a right to work state. And I was like, it don't matter. You got to pay me. So they did, and it was great. But I had gotten this audition from my Atlanta agent, and it was a self-tape for Legend of Master Legend. And I had recently, you know me on Actors Access, I had already submitted to that. So I was like, well, because I was still self-submitting because I just like didn't care. I was like, I'm still going to self-submit. Yeah. And they had put out this huge breakdown. I guess it was a re-release. So they had already done auditions around LA, wherever. And so I saw that it was in LA. I looked up the casting director on Casting About. I'm such a resource person. I looked him up. I'm like, she's in LA. So I just called her and was like, hey, is there any way that I could like go in for this? I see that the casting director is in LA. Instead of putting myself on tape, like whatever, it's worth a try. What's the worst you can say? No. Okay. And she was like, I don't know. Let me ask. I'm like, okay. So then she does. And then they're like, yeah, sure. She can come in tomorrow. I'm like, okay, great. So she tells me, I go in the next day. I prep it. It's only like 4 pages, really not a lot. And so I was like, okay. So I went in. I literally did it. I literally didn't. I don't know why at that space in my life I just wasn't caring. And I also, I know a little bit. It's because I was so heartbroken from the previous thing. Mm-hmm. I was in a discouraged place. So all the auditions I was kind of doing was just kind of like, whatever. Like, if it works, cool. If it doesn't, cool. Mm-hmm. You know, which I'm realizing right now in this moment, full circle things for myself. But that's how I was feeling. And so I went in, I did it. She was like, oh shit. Hold on, because it was a pre-read, so I wasn't on camera. So then she was just like, oh, wait, let me record that. Hold on. So she gets up, she gets the camera, and now she's like, okay, let's do that one more time. And I'm like, okay, great, which is actually the same thing that happened to Young Sheldon. And so I was like, great. So then we do it again, and then she was like, okay, what do you think? Like, what do you think about this girl? Like, how, like, and I was just like, oh, I've never had a casting director interact with me like that. Yeah. Ask me what I think. So I told her, I probably did that 4-paging 20 times. Like, literally 20 times. And her taping every single one.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God.
And her just being, I could just see it in her eyes that she, like, and now I think about it now, she was like, oh my God, I hit the jackpot. Like, she was like, oh, this is it. And so, but I didn't think anything of it. I literally left and, like, didn't tell anyone I had that audition. Like, it just was like, whatever. At the time, I was doing this, like, YouTube talk show with my friend, and I was like, I'm busy. Like, I have other things going on. So I went and did that, and then a week later, they called me back for the director-producer session. And I was like, oh, wow, first director-producer session ever, right? This first credit, like, no idea what I'm doing. So I just, like, go in, like, oddly so confident. Like, just, like, whatever. I'm just going to, like, throw these 4 pages down. Like, it's no big deal. I'll just do it. And they were like, so I went in and I did. And then they were like, wow, that was really great. So you're from Atlanta. And I was like, no. I was like, wait, what? And they were like, yeah, you're agent in Atlanta, you know, so you're from Atlanta. Like, how long have you been here? And I was just like, oh. And I realized at the time, like, oh, they think I'm from Atlanta because I have my Atlanta agent who called to see if I could get in. And I was just like, I've been there like just like a year or so. I'm originally from Bakersfield, California, which is true. I just couldn't like lie too much, you know, because I won't be able to keep up with that. And so basically, long story short, I had went in, I'd done the director-producer session, and then they had thought that, like, they had found this girl who just happened to be in LA at the time, but lived in Atlanta. So I think they thought they, like, missed me, like, when they did the LA casting the first time. Oh. And it was only me and, like, 2 other girls. And then I left, literally not telling anyone about that producer session, just being like, that was really cool. Awesome. All right, cool. I don't know why they thought I was from Atlanta, but sure. And my best friend lives in Atlanta, which is how I got the Atlanta agent to begin with. And so I told her, like, okay, so if anyone asks, like, what's your address? Because I needed to, you know. And then I go a week later, they call my LA agent, which got really confusing because they called my LA agent telling her I had a chemistry read, but this whole time I'd been going through my Atlanta agent, so it was like really weird. And so then she was just, and I was dumb because I didn't like tell her what was going on because I just didn't.
She didn't even know you had these.
So she had no idea that I had this callback, this director. She had no idea. So then I go in, I do this chemistry read with John Hawkes. They send me the script, and again, I'm new, so I prepared the whole script because I thought that's what you needed to do. So I prepared the whole fucking script. So I show up, my LA agent's like, this is huge. This is series regular. This is for an Amazon series, and they're the same producers from Transparent that has all these Emmys. Like, this could be huge. And I was like, oh, really? I had no idea. Like, oh my God. Okay. And then she was like, okay, don't get nervous though. Like, just go and do the same thing. So I did. I prepared the whole thing. I go in, I meet John Hawkes. I read with Dawn Lewis, who played my mom, who's so great. And I watched her on A Different World, so that was really cool, with my mom. And she played a big part in my mom's life growing up that I had known about. So it was just that was like a full circle moment. But I went in, read with John Hawkes. He was so great, so funny. I mean, it probably lasted like an hour, this like chemistry read. Yeah. And there was one other girl there, and she had left. They'd sent her home. And I was like, that's weird. Why would they send her home and keep me? Because I'm an idiot. I didn't get what was going on. And so then I keep reading with him. We're trying all these different things. They're like, okay, we want to give you these other scenes from the other part of the script. Do you want to go outside and learn them? And I was like, oh, no, I know that. And they were like, yes, you know it. And I was like, oh, I prepared the whole script. Do you want to, like, any scene you want to do, like, we can just do any of them. And they were just like, who's this girl? Like, what's happening?
Yeah.
And I just like legit, like I didn't even need sides. Like I just knew the whole script. So I was like, anything you want to do, like, let's do. So we basically did every scene that me and John Hawkes do in the pilot episode. We did all of them. And I didn't need, they were like, are you sure you don't need sides? Like, oh, I don't need sides. I go, I know it all. And I knew it all. And they were just like, holy crap. And they were like, you're really prepared. Like, you were just really prepared. And I was like, oh, am I? This is not what,
Is this not
it's
normal?
not what everyone does. Like, wouldn't everyone do this? And then realizing they wouldn't. And then a week went by after that, and I didn't hear anything. And I was kind of shaking in my boots because I didn't know how it worked. And my agent at the time was just like, well, I don't know if they're going to test you or if they're going to give you an offer. And then she called back days later, like, looks like they're giving you an offer. They're asking for they're asking for all these things. I'm like, oh, okay. I had no idea what an offer meant. I was like, what's an offer? What's a test deal? I feel like an idiot. I don't know what's going on. And then I basically just kind of like threw it to God and was like, well, if this is for me, it's for me. And if it's not, well, then that sucks. This would be so fun because all these people are so great and they seem so awesome to work with. And at the time I had seen Transparent, so I'm like, love their show. And I had also looked them up. I was telling you, Lauren's like, I know that. Before I did my chemistry read, when she told me everyone that was going to be in the room, I had looked up every single person and watched interviews of them on YouTube. So like our director, John, Noah, Micah, everyone, I had looked them up on YouTube and watched stuff because I had known from casting director workshops, when I see people and I see them talk and I see how they interact, it makes me less nervous. I find the human in them. And then I can go in a room and feel like we're equal and not feel like I'm inferior. So I still do that to this day. I personally have to. I've learned that that's just my thing. I have to look people up and really try to find interviews that they've done or even photos just so I know what they look like something that makes me like put a human to that name instead of seeing this huge executive producer name and being like, oh God, you know. Just being able to do that. And so I did. And then I got the call that I booked it. What was I? Oh, that's what I was doing. I was at one of my jobs. I worked 2 jobs at the time. I was working at Starbucks and at another job. And I had already quit Starbucks because I was like, fuck this shit. I can't do that. And exactly 30 days from the time I quit Starbucks, I was working at like a call center. Like just a whack job, right?
Like telemarketer type?
Yeah,
call
like
center?
yeah, exactly like that, like a telemarketer thing. Which they're the worst. I hate when they call me, so I know that everyone hated me. And I hang up on you, cuss you out, the whole thing. I missed my agent's call because I was at my job sitting at the little desk, and then I left. And also, it was like the only thing you could do over 18, like not needing a degree. And so I left outside and I'm like, oh, I'm sorry I missed your call. I was at work. I was like sitting at my desk. I'm sorry, my phone was on silent, whatever. And then she was like, well, honey, you need to quit that job because you just booked this role. And I was like, what? What? No, you said I was going to do a test thingy or an offer thing. She's like, this is the offer. They gave you the offer. And I was just like, what? She was like, leave your job, quit your job. And I was like, okay. So I literally go back in the job. I pack up my stuff. The guy sitting next to me is like, what's going on? Where are you going? I was like, I'm leaving. I just booked a series regular. Goodbye. I left, never went back.
Oh my
never
God.
Never called, never put in it, never. They never called me to figure out why I didn't come back. Nothing. I just never went back to that place.
You just packed up and left.
And I was like, bye. And on my way out, I left and everyone was like, why is she leaving? And I didn't clock out. Oh my God. I just left. I literally just fucking left. And then I called my mom and I called my friends. And by the way, I hadn't told anyone I was doing this process. So none of my friends, my mom had no idea. Like no one knew because I just didn't think it was gonna happen. And so I was like, meh. Whereas like now, once you start getting into the audition world and like really auditioning, you talk to people about auditions and you talk about your audition experiences, but I didn't have any experience really auditioning except for the student films I was doing that summer, which my friends didn't give a shit. So it was like, okay. But yeah, isn't that crazy?
That is really so fun.
0 credits.
It is
nothing.
Wild.
It's like the dream experience actors want to have is to be able to do that. To be like,
right.
I'm out.
Right, exactly.
It was because, and that's what I think is so inspiring. It's like people don't put that kind of work into auditions like you did. You memorized the entire script.
Right.
When you had a 4-page scene you had to memorize.
Right.
And you looked up interviews with every single professional that was going to be in that room. And it's like, that's the level of care you put into it and you just thought was expected. So that's why you are where you are. And it's incredible.
And it's crazy when I learned that people show up to like testings not knowing their material.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is do you want this or not? Because I know so many actors who would kill to be testing for these things and show up prepared every single time. So when I hear that, it's just like the lazy actor. And you know what's funny is one of my first acting coaches, Lauren Patrice Nadler, I had done a scene, it was a scene study class, and I had showed up for a scene, and she'd asked me like, what does that place mean? Or what does that thing mean? And I was like, I don't know. And then she was like, you didn't look it up? You didn't care to look it up? You didn't care to figure out what that was? And I was like, no, I just kind of like, figured it out. Like I figured I knew the context. And she was like, you don't ever want to be a lazy actor. You never want to show up and to a director or to any type of audition and not know what you're talking about. And also not know who you're talking about or who you're talking to. Like you need to look it up. We are in a place and an age where you can look it up. It's just lazy and it's unexcusable. And she really chewed my ass out for that. And I'm really grateful for that now because I refuse to be a lazy actor from that experience. And also from that, and that was like when I first got to LA taking that class. So like to think that years later, people don't prepare the whole script, like you didn't do that. Like not everyone does that. That's confusing. And also like, why not? The offer on the table is a whole lot more money than I'm sure what you're working for now. So it's like, you better put in that work.
Yeah. Incredible.
Yeah.
Is that still the process you do, like for Stargirl? Did you still prep the full script? I mean, now because you're going out so frequently. Oh, okay.
Right. Yeah. Stargirl was so like down low. So I didn't even know the character I was playing for Stargirl or auditioning for until the night before I tested.
Wow.
I had no idea. I had no idea that I was a superhero. I had no idea. I just thought it was a Warner Brothers project and it was called Stargirl, but at the time they were doing the Disney Channel Stargirl movie, so everyone was getting really confused because I had just auditioned for the Stargirl Disney Channel original movie, and I knew it wasn't that because it said Warner Brothers, but I didn't know it was DC. Like they didn't give us all that. I mean, I kind of started to like connect the dots when I got the producer-director session because they said Jeff Johns was going to be in the room, and I was like, oh, Jeff Johns, like DC Jeff Johns. But then I'm like, well, I have no idea. I'm just playing this girl who's in this school who's literally running away from a monster. I swear to God, those are the sides. And they were fake sides. They were mock sides.
Right.
Which really helped me with Stargirl too, because when I got the audition, they said the script isn't available. Here's the sides. And I said, oh, okay, has the script, which this is a really key question. I asked my agent's assistant, is the script not available or is the script not written? And he was like, let me go find out. And so he asked casting, came back and said, the script isn't written yet.
Wow.
I said, great. So if the script isn't written, I can totally make all these mock sides my own. So I didn't have to be word perfect. This isn't a Shonda Rhimes thing. I can like play with it. I can make it my own. I can kind of ad lib and paraphrase where I want to make it sound like I said it, not like this girl said it. So that's what I did. And I remember going into that audition and there was a shit ton of girls there. I mean, so like every black girl in town was like, who was 18 to look younger was at this audition. And so it was really full at Rich Delia casting. He's so great. And I went and I remember hearing their walls are not thick, okay? Very, really thin. I heard girl after girl after girl going in, saying it exactly how it was written, saying exactly how it was written. And the night before I had ran it with Keitra, our friend Keitra. And I was like, I'm not going to say it like this. This is how I'm going to say it. And she just was like, all right. I mean, she was like, this can go really great or really bad. Because she was like, oh, you're just doing your own thing. You're just saying fuck it. And I was like, yeah, I'm saying fuck it. Also, which I was saying earlier, I'm having a full circle moment. I was in a really discouraged place. I tested a bunch of times before, I think 3 times before Stargirl. Didn't book any of them. So I was in a fuck it place. Like, whatever, if they like me, cool. If they don't, cool. Which now it's like, oh my God, that's the exact same place I was when I booked Legend of Master Legend. But I was just like, I'm going to do what I want. And so I did. And I went in and I was like, this is going to be really great or really bad because I'm not doing it how they did. And so I went in and I totally just like threw it away and did my own thing. And I just remember Mark Droder, who's so great, was like looking at me and was like, that was really great. Yeah, that was like, right? And she just was like, yeah, that was so great. And then I was just like, oh, I mean, was it? Because I can do it how it's written. I just like, want to throw my own sauce on it, And then they were like, no, we loved it. We loved how you totally made it your own and like your own character. And I was like, oh my gosh, okay, great. And then they're like, let's do the next scene. And I was like, okay, I did the next scene. And that was it. Then I got the director-producer session with Jeff John. And I was like, oh, Jeff John, I don't know. I also did both scenes one time. That's it. And I was really nervous when I actually booked it because I had that audition, the director-producer session, then I got the test. And when I tested for it, I also did it only one time. Like, I never was redirected once. So I was like, y'all just hired me on your show, didn't even find out if I could take direction. Like, never even gave me direction once. Like, not even. But Jeff John is very, very particular. He's a very specific man. He knows exactly what he wants. And when he sees it, he knows it. And he's like, I didn't need to see it again. I didn't need to see you try anything else. I just knew. And apparently he knew from the first, like, he saw my original tape. He was like, that's it. And then when I went in, he was like, oh, we knew. We just had to test you because the network wanted to see you and do this whole thing. He was like, but we knew at the test, like, we knew. And I was like, wow, that's crazy. Because here I am just going through my daily life, right? And I was just, like, not knowing that in, like, 3 weeks that your life could change. You know, you just, like, live and, like, hoping and praying, like, all right, God, well, if this is for me, this will be really great. But if it's not, okay, I mean, whatever. And at that point, I actually was really like, all right, God, if I'm not going to book this, I really might move home. Like, actually, even though the year before I did 6 guest stars, even though, like, it didn't matter. I was, like, literally in a place of, like, that was where it felt like rock bottom. It, like, literally felt like rock bottom, like, right before, like, around that time. It's really like those moments that are like destiny, because it was like I was always meant to be that girl, even though, like, in my head, I never saw that. And a lot of actors dream about being a superhero. They're like, man, that's a dream job. I never once dreamt about that shit. I was like, I want to be a teenage prostitute in an Ava DuVernay film. That's what I want to do. And so you just never know. I'm not Bumblebee, though. Everyone thinks that. I would love to be. I mean, whoever's going to be Bumblebee is really lucky. But
you know, one thing that's occurring for me as I'm watching you talk about all this is, you know, there's a saying that I have that if you want to be a lead, you have to be a leader, right? Like, if you're going to walk into a room with people who are counting on you to be able to be prepared and be the storyteller that they're relying on to help bring this to life and all that, they can't be so worried about you that you're going to fall apart or whatever.
Right.
The way you conducted yourself in that room, and that's why it's kind of like a light and a dark way to approach it. Like, you know, one of the studios that I used to go to back like a decade ago had this saying was like, fuck it. You know what I mean? Like, they have a fuck it attitude or whatever.
Yeah.
That never really resonated with me because I get what they were getting at, but that also isn't kind of the energy that I want anybody to get from me, is that I don't care.
Right.
It's like, no, not fuck it. It's just like I'm detaching from the outcome. Like, I don't need an outcome to take pride in my art and to want to really own this while I have it, you know, while I get the privilege to live in this story. Like, I'm just going to enjoy this as long as it lasts, and I'm going to have a vision, and I'm going to celebrate and collaborate and all that stuff. And then I can walk away and I can be like, that was part of the process of finding my home. And eventually I will find my home, and then that'll be my home for a year or more or whatever. And then I'll find a new home. And that's just kind of the way it is. But that fuck it attitude to me felt really aggressive in a way that didn't resonate with me. And I'm not judging anybody else who has that situation, but like for you, you know, it felt like that came out of a place of like, you almost like forced letting go. Like your body was like, I'm done. And so I'm letting go of like all the emotional attachment, and there's freedom in that.
Right.
And I just don't think that the only way to get to that place of freedom is by hitting rock bottom. You can choose that way to operate just by acknowledging the way the industry works.
Right.
But it's so funny whether you get there from that exhaustion or whether you get there from like, that's just your mentality. The way that you walk into a room and your validation and all that other stuff does not hinge on that one experience, and you have total freedom to just do what you want to do as a performer. And then you come off as like a leader, somebody who's like, I don't need anything more from this. I'm just here to play. Right.
I 100% agree. And I think because I had hit that rock bottom, and now that it's happened twice, I feel more secure now in knowing like, well, it'll come, you know? But I know actors who like you were saying, just innately have that attitude, and things do. But like some people have to get there in their way. And for me, my journey, just like I needed to hit rock bottom. I needed to work really, really fucking hard for $9 an hour to extremely appreciate being on set with a call time at 1 a.m. and being here and like being paid what I'm being paid. And then other actors who I'll say would, might complain and be like, oh my God, it's like 3 a.m. Like, I just can't be here. I'm like so tired. I'm like, yeah, but I used to wake up at 3 a.m. to work at Starbucks for my shift from 3 to 9. So this is great. This is amazing because back then I was working $9 an hour dealing with terrible customers who haven't had their coffee at 4 a.m. So this is awesome, and maybe I needed to go through that to have that gratitude, right? Like,
absolutely.
Maybe my journey needed to have that to feel like positive. And then I noticed too, on most of the sets, I'm for sure one of the most positive actors on set. I just believe in always being grateful and having a great attitude, but also a lot of the actors I have been really lucky to work with who are awesome, but like have never had to work a regular job because they're either like actual teenagers because I'm still playing high school, or they're like, like my age, like early 20s. So like either they have never had to like work in those types, do you know what I'm trying to say? Like, have never had to like do those types of jobs. So they think that everything we have as like an actor is like the way it's supposed to be. And I'm like, no, Gunny, this is not how it works. Like we are very, very blessed to be here. And there are thousands of actors in LA right now who would kill for your job. And then it brings them back to their moment. Like, oh, you're right. And one of my castmates is always like, I love when you're on set because you always make me realize how blessed I am, like how lucky I am to be here. Because when you're not, for a lot of people, it's so easy to get caught up and just like, it's just like how it is. And like, they're used to always having jobs and used to always working and used to making a lot of money and used to spending a lot of money. So they're just kind of like, this is just how it always is. But I like bring them back to reality because I'm like, no, this isn't how it always is. We are really, really lucky to be here. Mm-hmm. And there are a lot of people who are not. And honestly, a lot of people who are really deserving. Mm-hmm. And it just might not be their time, right? I think we're all deserving. It just might not be your time. And so it's just like, keep going because it will eventually be your time.
So how's your experience having done background? How does that impact the way you behave on set?
I have a very sweet spot for background. Very sweet spot. It's like really weird. Maybe it's not weird, but I just don't believe in like acting like they're not there. Like, I see you. You're a human. Hi, I acknowledge your presence. I have a lot of moments, if I'm going to be like really transparent, because I did background to me for like too long. Like I was like, God, I'm like, if I would have stopped doing background a year before I stopped, maybe I would have been where like a year further, like, you try to like do this stupid math in your head. But the truth is all the experience that I got from doing background work showed me when I worked, I got to see a lot of different types of actors. And when you're doing background, you're just observing, right? You're not talking to them. You're not really doing anything. Mm-hmm. And so I observed on who I wanted to be and who I didn't want to be. Because I saw different actors and I was like, oh God, I never want to be like that. I never want to be like that. And then I see other actors and I'm like, oh, I want to be just like that. I want to be like her. The girl who walks in and greets everyone, who says hello to everyone, who talks to the PAs, who treats them like people, who knows their name and who like sees the background. And like when I'm speaking of someone specific, but like when she comes to this area where the background are, if she has to start here, she'll say, hi, I'm so-and-so, right? Mm-hmm. Whatever it is. And then I did that. And I'm talking about Debbie Ryan, actually. And she was just so kind, always. And I was like, I want to be like that. Like, she never acted like, and also Zendaya, like, never acted like we weren't there or like we weren't people. I did, like, the first 2 episodes of background on Casey Undercover. And maybe she was really excited because it was her show and she was producing and it was a really big deal. But regardless, I mean, she came around and, like, shook every single one of our hands and was like, thanks so much for coming. Thanks so much for being here.
That's amazing.
And I mean, she had to be like, she's like, what, 21? So she was like, I don't know, 18, 17, which isn't that far off. But I just remember being like, wow, I want to be like that. I want to be the person who says hello. And now on the shows that I work on, the films that I work on, I do just that. I say hello to everyone. I introduce myself. Hi, I'm Anjelika. I may not come and shake everyone's hand. Not that I'm really worried about germs, but I just get ashy. So I have lotion and I don't want it to get off. So, but regardless, I'm like, hi. And a lot of actors that I work with are not that way.
Yeah.
Most of them, 90%.
It really stands out when somebody behaves like that. I remember even Jerry O'Connell, who I worked with on Scream Queens, right? And he was standing at one point. in the path that all the background performers needed to go from their holding area to set, and just saying hi and greeting every single person as they were coming. And I'm like, man, you've been a star for so long, and yet you still take attention to detail with that. Like that is super inspiring. That is so great.
Absolutely. And I think it's always just those moments of like, remember where you come from, you know, remember where you started. And also, I always think to myself, I don't know who these background actors are going to be one day. You don't know. They could be the next Viola Davis, right? Or they could just blow up and be Jennifer Lawrence tomorrow, and you have no idea. So, and I would never want to be that person, like run into someone like, I remember, you know, working with you. That actually recently happened to me. I ran into a girl who I did background on her Disney Channel show a few years ago, right when I was still doing that. And she was really rude back then. And it was really nice to me all of a sudden.
Crazy how that works.
And I was also nice to her, and I didn't point it out. It's just something I knew. It was something I noted in my head that was like, well, this is fake, you know? And it doesn't have to be said. It's just something that I know. And then it's like, she's not someone who I want to be friends with. And if she wants to try to be friends with me, the answer is no, because I know how you treat other people. And unfortunately, fortunately, integrity matters to me more than anything else. I don't care how much money you have, how much success you have, how much success you think you have. Your character and like your integrity of how you treat other people when other people can't see you matters more to me than anything else. Like, I don't care if you're Michael B. Jordan, but like, I've heard he's great. When I was in Atlanta, he had worked and done some films there. And like, my stand-in was a stand-in on his show, and was like, he is so great and so kind. And like, those things matter, right? Because
what's the first thing you ask someone? It's like you meet somebody who's famous. You're like, were they nice?
Yes.
It's the first question. You want to know.
Right.
You want to know that the people who have success deserve it.
Absolutely. That's so good. That's exactly what it is. We want to know, like, do they deserve it? Or are they the person that makes you just go, oh, you know?
Yeah.
It matters. It really matters. And character matters. It matters in everything. It matters in friendships that I have. It matters in my team. Like when I'm building my team, I'm having a phenomenal team. I'm really blessed. But when I was building my team, that mattered to me. Like, yeah, your hustle fucking matters. Absolutely. But also your integrity matters. Right. And so like my team will say like, I don't want to do that. Or like, I want to do, but like, I don't want to push too hard or whatever. And I'm a pusher, like me, Anjelika, you know, and I'm like, you better do that. And they're like, okay, but we don't want to ruin these relationships, you know? And so then I'm like, okay, I get that. Okay, I guess. But yeah, character matters when I'm like talking to men, you know, like men that I might be interested in, like those things matter. Their integrity matters. Like I love going out on like, I haven't been on a date in a while, but when I was going out on dates, going to like restaurants or even like a local Starbucks or something and seeing how they treat the people who serve them. That is everything, because how you treat those people who owe you nothing shows how you really treat people and how you see the world. And so that matters to me more than anything, because I would never be like that to someone. So I'm like, why the fuck would anyone else?
Yeah. And that's the energy you give off. And that's why as soon as you walk in a room, people are like, oh, there's something different. There's something bright. There's something beautiful about this person. So it shows and that comes across.
Same to you, girl.
Thanks. I also want to hear, because you were talking about how, you know, you had this year, you booked 6 guest stars, then you had a year where you were testing a lot and not booking. And then all of a sudden you book Stargirl, you book Tall Girl, you leave town, you're on location for a long time. Was that a big life adjustment to be like, you know, hustling in LA to all of a sudden just like months at a time on set?
100%. Yeah, so much. Moving back into my apartment in September, this recent September, was the 6th time I've moved in a year. Wow. Like physically moved. So yeah, it was a lot, and not even just traveling. So 9 months of this year I wasn't here in LA. So I come back, so many things are different. I mean, I went to my church. The parking is different. I'm like, everything's strange. My gym, 24-hour fitness, doesn't give out towels anymore. Like so many things that like just in 9 months I wasn't here, but like 9 months is more, that's like 3/4 of the year, is it not?
Yes.
So like that's a long time. So yeah, a lot has changed. I think a lot has changed with myself. It's interesting because I've been finding that the only people I've really been able to like talk to about these things have been like my cast, because they're also transitioning into being back here. And it's like a very weird thing that I didn't think I would ever have, because my dream has always been, and same for you, I know we have this similar dream. We want to travel. Like we want to act and travel, and like traveling, we love traveling. And like what a blessing to like work and go to new places and be on locations and do all these things and being new environments and meet new people. And it is great. But I would say coming back, I felt instantly when I got back to LA, I felt the pressure of hustling, which is something that I had to like I've talked with my mom, I talked with my therapist. It was like, I didn't understand why. I mean, the day I got back, the day I came to LA, I like was busy that weekend. And then that Monday I was like, all right, I gotta get to work. I gotta start figuring out new ways of income. So it was like almost like I picked up exactly where I left back. I don't know if it's like the energy or it's like because I'm back in my apartment. Like, I don't know what that was about, but I instantly felt that. But when I was in Atlanta, because I knew I was there for my job, I was like chilling because I was like, well, I'm here for my job. On days that I had off, I was like, well, I guess I'll go to hot yoga. I guess I'll like treat myself to lunch, maybe go see a movie, like, you know. And also I'd never lived that lifestyle ever. So like that I think was more new, because on days that I had off, because I was there for 7 months, but I didn't work every single day. Right. We have like 12 actor series regular cast with a pretty big series regular cast. So not everyone's working every day except for Stargirl, because she's Stargirl. So she didn't have time off like we did. But I got really close with them because we had so much time off, and I didn't realize I was going to have time off. And so I think now feeling like it was okay to do nothing was new, because I did not know what that felt like, because I always had rent to pay, or I always had classes to pay for, or privates, or photo shoots. Like, I don't know. You know what I mean? The expenses in LA are endless. So I'm like always having something to do. And so now also I've never been financially stable in my life up till right now. I've never been like not paycheck to paycheck. And even when I did those 6 guest stars in that year, that was really great. It set me up to be, I basically saved all that money. So it paid my rent for like 8 months. So like the 8 months that I like wasn't working, I was like, okay, great. I got rent. Like, thank God I didn't touch it, you know? But that also comes from like, I took that class at SAG-AFTRA, like money management for artists. Like, I've always been preparing for this. I just didn't know how I'd react when it got here. So I've never been financially stable. So that's really new. Honestly, I think it's more new, because I'll be like, let's go get lunch. And my friend's like, girl, I can't. And I'm like, oh my God, that's right. I forget that in LA, people can't just spend money like that. Yeah. But when I was in Atlanta, I was with my cast. I'm like, we're young, we have money, and we have time. We went out all the fucking time. Like, we were out at restaurants, out at clubs, like just out. And I've never lived that life. Also, in Atlanta, everything's cheap. Like, the minimum wage for Georgia is like nothing, you know? So my most expensive Uber ride I took on a Saturday night was $9.
Oh my God.
Nothing. In LA, like, it's $9 to go down the street in an Uber, you know? So it's just, you just are like, yeah, we're out. And also I gained 10 pounds being in Atlanta. Well, like over this year in general. So like it definitely started in New Orleans because the food is great. And that's due too, because this is the heaviest weight I've ever been. It's not bad. I mean, it's all went to the right places, so it's fine. But still, you know, as a woman, I notice it and I feel it and I'm like, God, I gotta get it together. But it's happy weight. And that's something that I like realized. I was like meditating and I was like, you know what? The weight that I've gained this year is happy weight. Like, it's been...
I've never heard that phrase and I love it.
I absolutely
it's
love
happy
that.
weight. It's happy because, yeah, I've eaten a lot more than I should, but I've had money to spend that I've never had before. And yeah, going into this next, hopefully I believe we'll get a second season. I'm feeling pretty confident, but also you never know. But I'm really getting into a budget. I have an accountant now, like things I never had. And so my accountant and I have really set up a budget, like monthly spending. And because I was spending way too much in Atlanta, which really in LA, it's not a lot. I was not spending a lot compared to, like, I could never live that lifestyle here. Like that money would be gone, you know? But yeah, and so it's just different. Like I'm giving myself more of a break because this year has been so drastically changing in my life that I've never allowed myself to like enjoy what this lifestyle feels like. And so I have done that this year. And it's been conscious because there's lots of parts of me that were like, well, maybe we should just like, if we just share this meal, then like we don't have to. And my castmate would be like, but why? We can get both. And I'm like, you're right. We can get both.
That's
We
right.
can get both, you know, and have to consciously tell myself it's okay to spend the extra $10.
Well, it's like people who live through the depression who are like hoarders now because like
Yes.
you never know when you're going to need it,
Yes.
and like they're afraid to spend.
I think I'm a hoarder.
Mattresses, yeah.
I'm like, literally, okay, when I got back, Lauren came to my apartment to help me organize my stuff, and she was literally like, you don't need this. You don't, Lauren?
Yeah, I mean, there was like a bag of, just random things in the closet that you're like, oh yeah, that's my bag of snacks. I'm like, keep them in the kitchen or get rid of them.
Right.
Like things like that where it's just like, but you have a mentality of like, save everything.
Right.
Just to be safe.
Yes, and I've been learning how to get out of a mindset of scarcity. I've lived in a mindset of scarcity for so long instead of a mindset of abundance. And a mindset of abundance, for some people, they can just like do that. I could not live in a mindset of abundance while legitimately being broke. Like that just was too hard. Like it just wasn't real, and I couldn't make it real. Now that it is real, I'm still living a mindset of scarcity, but like trying to transition to abundance and be like, I'm okay.
Yeah.
I'm okay. And like, we have rent.
Well, it's a good reward for your body for all the hard work that it put in before it was getting the rewards of the work and all that. And, you know, I tell people, you know, like, I don't know if this language has been used about you. I wouldn't be surprised if it has or it will. But they'd be like, hey, where'd this girl come out of nowhere? And suddenly it's like, dude, you have no idea how long I was working at this before this happened. And so the question for you is like, at what year number are you in where you turn the corner of being a working actor?
Right now, 2019.
So that's how many years into your journey?
Well, I can't say because it ages.
Okay, so right. Let's just say, is it 5 plus?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Because if you look
absolutely.
at people's IMDb's and like you see like 5 to 7 years into when their first credits appear is when they're in the things that you know them from. But that's just when their first credits appear. God knows how long it took for them to get their first credits.
Right.
You know, so it just seems to be
100%.
like the sweet spot of like it takes time for the industry to get to know you and how to use you. And
Yes.
sure, people leapfrog ahead. That's one of the miracles of what we do.
Right.
But otherwise, you just get in and you grind.
Yeah, and I have people who from my hometown and other towns who have reached out saying that this is now something that they want to do, and which is really great because I didn't have a single person from my hometown who had done anything like what I was doing. So that's really cool. And I take that with pride because I know that those people, like even just having the thing that my high school drama teacher set up, like all those kids from Bakersfield, California who probably thought they couldn't do that. Hopefully now my dream is like I hope that people can see what I'm doing and be like, oh, I can do that, right? Because like I definitely had people in small ways, whether it was like Kerry Washington on TV or whatever, made me feel like, oh, I could do that, you know? But people think like, oh, I want to move there and I want to do that and I want to be there. I'm like, great, that's amazing. I'm not going to sit here and say it can't happen for you in a year because I don't know what God has for you. But I can tell you my journey, and it wasn't not a year, it wasn't 2, wasn't 3, wasn't 4, wasn't 5. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there is a lot of time and energy and money and effort I put into it that I think people really, it's easy to dismiss. It's easy to dismiss, and because they see your success now, but not seeing all the work you put into it, you know? And it's like what Kobe said, like no one shows up to the game without going to practice, you know? So like, don't just look at how many like shots I've made now. It's like, but how many hours have I put in? How much time did I put in doing that? So now you see me at the game and I'm scoring and it looks great, but like, yeah, but I just worked out for like 20 hours last week. You know what I mean? That you didn't see. So it feels the same way. Like I've been doing this for years. And also reminding myself too, I think is a new place to be in. When now transitioning to being a working actor and making my living and being really grateful and blessed doing that is reminding myself that I deserve it. I think that it's easy too to go through a place of like feeling like you don't, because I know actors who maybe have been here longer than I have and still don't have what I have. Or I know actors who I feel like maybe haven't, but they work really, really hard and just haven't gotten that break yet that they really need. Just that one thing sometimes I feel like you need to just help with a little momentum, you know? And sometimes I have that moment because I have so many friends, like most of my friends in LA are actors, and a lot of them not necessarily have done maybe exactly as much as I have, or have, but in different capacity. Maybe it's in the indie world or whatever. And I go through that sometimes of being like, I deserve this. And it's a daily thing that I have to remind myself that I deserve this and that I'm worthy of it. In my bathroom, I have a sign that says, I'm worthy, I'm deserving, and I am capable. And it's really funny because 4 years ago, those words, like, I don't know why I wrote those down. And when I first made my first vision board, which was 4 years ago, which had like shows and like everything I'm doing now, except for the boyfriend, was literally on that vision board. He'll come later. Everything that was on that vision board. And I remember I used to sit and I used to say, I am worthy, I am deserving, I am capable. And I would literally set a timer on my phone for like 4 minutes. And I would sit with my eyes closed and say, I'm worthy, I'm deserving, I am capable. And those are like the 3 words. If I ever got another tattoo, it would be, I am worthy, I am deserving, I am capable. And so those words, I don't know why those 3 specific words, and I don't know who said them to me. I cannot remember how I came across those 3 words, but I know that they changed my life. And I always I'll tell you after this. But I had a recent encounter where I was getting to read with an actor who I've looked up literally my entire life, looked up to. And before that, I was just saying, like, I'm worthy, I'm deserving, I'm capable. Like, I am worthy of this. I deserving to be here, and I'm absolutely capable. Like, I would never be put in a position that I wasn't able to handle. Yeah. So reminding ourselves of that. Like, when we get in some rooms, I know I hear stories of people. I was telling my friend about this recent thing that I was in, and I was like, yeah, it was so exciting to get to read with him and blah, blah, blah. And then she was like, oh my God, I would have felt like I didn't deserve to be there. And I said, she was like, did you feel like that? And I said, no, I didn't feel like that. I 100% felt like I was ready to be there. I fucking deserved to be there. I worked my ass off to be there.
Yes.
And I was fucking great. And he told me I was great. And I know I was great. So at the end of the day, I'm like, no, I think we have to own it and step into our power. We need to own it all and step into our power. And it takes me a minute once I remind myself. But sometimes I wake up feeling like I'm just a normal ass girl. I got to brush my teeth, you know? So I don't know if I'm really that deserving. And then I have my moment where I look back on all the things I've done when I've done background, I've done the student films, I've done everything. I've done the workshops, I've done the classes, and I'm still doing those things. Like, it didn't just end. It's just different now. Yeah. Now it's like I have a publicist and there's certain people I have to meet and I have to go on different interviews and, it's just different. Hustle never stops. Yeah. And in fact, it gets more expensive, believe it or not. Publicists are expensive as shit. So, it doesn't stop.
I love it. I'm so going to write that down and put that on my bathroom mirror. I'm going to start saying that every morning. That is beautiful.
Yeah. There are 3 really great words.
Yes.
Well, one thing I was going to say, so I had this experience on the show that I'm on, and we shoot outside of Dallas. And
love that.
Yeah, and it's and I had never had this experience of being a series regular until on this last 4 of the first season that we first shot. Because for the first part of the season, which we shot 4 episodes last November, the scripts were written before they met us and cast us. And so I had the experience of just being a recurring guest on a show or something, right? We're all getting to know each other, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
But there was a big time gap between the first 4 and the last 4 of season 1. And so coming back this July and working together to finish the first season, they had written all the scripts after having worked with us and after all the audience feedback and things like that. So, if you were working and if they were what they had provided to you, they knew you could handle, or they even wrote in your voice a little bit and whatever. So it was, and we all knew each other. So coming together, we didn't have to get through that getting to know each other phase. We could just get right to the storytelling. And it was so fun to be in a position where everything, the big sets, the background, and all these things were just kind of the play set for us to focus only on storytelling. There was no other considerations, no other sensitivities, or is this going to be good enough? Are they going to like this? Whatever.
Right.
It was just, how do we tell this story and collaborate together? And it was funny because I had this experience where, of course, I did all my work. I mean, I'm a fanatic with the work. But, they would pick me up, take me to set. They'd put some stuff on me.
Oh, you're fancy. You got them to pick you up.
Yeah. And then
I love that contract.
and then I would have conversations. And then I'd have more conversations. And then at a certain point, they'd be like, okay, you can go back to your hotel now. And I'm like, okay. And then come back tomorrow and have more conversations.
Yeah.
And the fact that
it just feels like you're just hanging out.
Yeah. And then the fact that someone's going to watch all that and be like, wow, the story, blah, 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 and all this stuff is really remarkable because, and that's part of how I think it was for me, it was the you are enough moment, or it was the kind of I am capable, I am deserving, I'm worthy, all that. It's like, well, we're all just human beings having an experience living in our own life stories. In this case, I'm just in this story and I'm having the conversations, and because I've done the work, I can have the conversation, and I can accomplish with this conversation what I need to have. But all the other considerations that give us so much drama and anxiety and all that kind of stuff, it's just, to me, it was like, wow, this was effortless. And of course, I have these conversations all day, every day, just not wearing this stuff and just not in this story context.
Yes.
Exactly. And that gave me a sense of like, how could I not be worthy? I'm just talking to someone. You know what I mean?
Yes. I love that. I also noticed too, when it happens, it's easy. It is that effortless thing, right? Like even with how everything was happening with Legend Master, I was just kind of like going through and like not really realizing, like none of it was hard. Mm-hmm. I just like learned my shit and then you show it and then you do it. And then with Stargirl as well, like, I was like in not a really good like mental place, but I was in a place of like, cool, I'm just going to show up and I'm going to like do it. And hopefully they like it. And if they don't, cool. Like it was very like effortless. And I just went in and did my thing. And I noticed that when things are effortless, like when they don't have to take so much, like prying is when things inevitably are so great and feel great. And they just like so organic, and your acting can be so organic. And also, I mean, same thing, because with Stargirl, because I went in and was just like doing my own thing, because it wasn't written yet, then they were able to write the whole character of the series, how I talk and how I am. And like, shit you not, there's an episode in Stargirl where I was on my way to set. No one picked me up. I drove myself. It's fine.
Season 2. Now
that. I drove myself, but I was listening to Hamilton on the way because I love musical theater. And I was dancing in my car and I'm getting it and I'm like, yeah, I'm like living my best life. And one of the writers was in the car next to me at the light and I didn't see her because him. I was just like in it, right? And I'm like, okay, cool. And so we get to set and he's like, oh my gosh, I saw you in your car. You were like dancing and singing. It was so great. Like you didn't even notice me. I was in the car right next to you at the light. And I was like, oh my, like instantly so embarrassed. Cause I'm like, cause when you're in your car, you feel like you're in a bubble. Like you feel like no one can see you, but they absolutely can. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so crazy. I don't know what to do. And that day, I had a scene at the end of the day and it was like, I can't even explain the scene, but basically I was doing something in the bathroom, right? And then he comes to me, like, our showrunner and him come to me like hours into the day after we'd done the first scene, we're like moving on. He's like, so that scene that you're going to do, you're actually going to sing and dance in that scene in the bathroom. We just changed the whole thing. So that's what you're doing. And I'm like, what? He was like, no, you were so great. It was so good. And he like wrote it in to the show. So like now in that scene, you'll see me singing and dancing, living my best life. And he's like, I want to just feel like you're in this musical. Like you just feel like you're in it. And I was like, okay. So I like grabbed a toothbrush in the bathroom and I'm just like doing the whole thing. And I mean, it was really fun. I was embarrassed too. Cause like when you finish the cruise, they're like, it's good. So they're like laughing and they're like, oh, Anjelika, it was so funny. It was so great. But you feel like an idiot, But I was like, I'm just going to go for it. Yes. Honestly, go for it. So that's why I'm also like, gotta be careful sometimes because how you live your life, when people see it, they will write that in. When you're on a show and it is like available to do so, they're like, oh, we're just going to do that. And so now I know, I'm like, okay.
So all of you who do lots of drugs at parties, be careful who's watching.
It's going to be in the storyline.
Literally.
You better be able to act like you're on it.
Right. Also, I'm like, I can't sing. You know that. Like, I just was in the car belting, but like, I don't sing. They're like, no, that makes it funnier.
Yeah.
I'm like, great.
Yes.
So yeah.
Amazing.
I love
it. So you were saying, everything just kind of happens. You just have to have faith and you don't know. But what is your plan for what comes next? Like you have a film, you start shooting tomorrow.
Yeah.
In the past, like you've directed a comedy sketch we did. You've produced a short film that you were the star of.
Yeah.
You've done a little writing. Like what do you want for next short-term goals and then like long-term goal?
I love that. I feel like this is what me and you talk about when we hang out.
This is very true.
We're like in a work session, short term, long term. That's so great. I really hope Tall Girl gets a sequel. I would love that. I really hope Stargirl gets season 2. I would also love that. And I would love to have both. God, if you can hear me, that'd be really great. But I want to take, if I'm available, because because I don't know, those things are just so up in the air right now. Like for next year, I don't know what my schedule, I don't know what I'm doing, but I would like to take some directing courses at UCLA Extensions. That's something I think we've talked about this. I've been wanting to do that for like 2 years now, and I haven't done it. And I've done like those little like online classes that you just like see that like is taught by some random kid who like got his degree at New York Film School, but like now decided to make this online class. I don't know. So I've done those, and those are great, and I've learned a lot actually. But I would like to sit physically in a class with a teacher, and like I just work better that way. So directing is something I really want to do. Really, God, I would love. You know what? I really want to lead a feature film. I really believe I could do it. I do.
Of course you can. Absolutely. Hell yeah.
Thank you. But I've just most recently been feeling that way. And then after I read with that actor who I was talking about, I felt really confident. And I was like, oh, I could absolutely do this, like 100%. Like I might feel sometimes like, oh, I don't know. But like I really do know. And even with Moxie, I originally auditioned for the lead role. I didn't book that role. I booked a different supporting role. But it's fine because I was handpicked by Amy Poehler, so it's fine.
And you did get a callback in the room.
First time. Yeah, for the other role. And so it's great. But I can say that I definitely, like, that's inspiring, like, seeing Amy direct. Like, I really want to do that. I really want to lead a feature film. I really want to do, like, a mini series of some sort. So I did do the Facebook series.
Yes.
I know.
Yes.
I was like, we did talk about that, but that's great too. But that will be out in February 2020. So I guess
for
a series
Facebook
regular
watch.
on a Facebook series as well. Although like it literally nothing's been announced, so I don't know. I guess I can't say anything. But that's happening.
Yeah.
Or that happened. It's done. It's done. And so I do feel like I've done a lot in this hiatus. I really want to take advantage of my hiatuses. That's really what I want to do. Like I did the Facebook series since I've been back. And now I'm doing Moxie. And I really want to do yoga teacher training, like something like that.
No, your free time.
Yeah, in free time. And like, I love doing that. And that's something that I would love to do just as a skill. Like, I want to learn more skills.
Amazing.
I think outside of like acting and directing, I want to like focus on building a life, like a life outside of this business. Which is something I never focused on before because all it has been is this business. And I started to realize, like, I don't have a hobby that isn't surrounded by this. You know what I mean? Like, even if I love going to the movies, yeah, but at the end of the day, I'm still, like, taking notes and, like, you know, clocking things. And
well, the way you allocate your time now in this phase of your career, it gets to shift from where it was before.
100%. The hustle's completely changed.
Yep.
That's one thing I've definitely learned is to just like relax. Like you were saying, like, how is it like my short-term and long-term goals? I just want to like breathe and which I'm doing, but I want to like I'm trying to figure out how to word it. I want to just rest in the fact that like everything that belongs to me and nothing's going to pass me by. Does that make sense? Like totally. I lived all my years in LA up to this point feeling so stressed all the time and just feeling like if I didn't get in for this audition, if I didn't do a drop off or if I didn't send postcards or if I didn't have my agent pitch or if I didn't do all these things, like it was never going to happen. And like maybe it would have happened if I didn't, probably not. You should still do all those things. You should still work. You should still do those things. But I think now just trusting my team.
Yeah.
Trusting that my team's got my back. Trusting that my team is pitching me for every role. Trusting that my team is on it. You know, I'm really like settling into that trust and really just trusting them, knowing that they got me, you know, every time. And even for Moxie, that first role that I ran that audition with Lauren, actually, that was originally a self-tape. And I called my manager and was like, hey, are they seeing people for this? I could slay this shit. Like, but they need to see me slay it.
Yeah.
Like, I could slay this on a tape, but I could really fuck shit up if I go in. And he was like, oh, yeah. And my team knows me now. So, like, they know if I'm asking for something like that, I'm very serious about it. And they basically are going to do everything they can to make it happen. Because 9 times out of 10, anytime I've ever done that, I've booked it. Like, it's a knowing. It's an internal spiritual thing that I feel where I'm like, I can do this. And then I didn't end up booking that role. And I was like, oh, well, here's that. But then weeks later, Amy Poehler calls and is like, I have this role in the same film, but Anjelika would be perfect for it. Which is like, what the fuck is that?
Incredible.
What?
Oh my God.
How does that even happen? Yeah. Right? And then she texted me, which was even more crazy.
Amy Poehler texted you.
Yes. She did. I was like, hey, Anjelika, Amy Poehler here. I'd love to chat. Anytime, let me know when you're free. And I was like, I'm free now. Like, I'm free anytime. Yeah, that was crazy.
Oh my God.
And so I just was like, what kind of like life is it that I'm like living now, you know, and trying to just like receive that and not block it away because I feel like I don't deserve it. Like receive it and just be like, yep, I'm ready. I want it. I want it all.
Keep it coming.
Yeah, keep it coming. But my long-term goals would be I really want to take those classes at UCLA. Acting's still my priority. So I do want to direct for sure. So that's a long-term goal for me, but I'm not in a rush. So that's a long-term goal. I really want to lead a feature film. That feels like a short-term goal.
Okay, so let me ask you about that.
Yeah.
So what's the story? What's the dream storyline?
Yeah.
What is it? Past, present, future? Is it what kind of character would you want to play? Like, and the reason why I ask, not only just because I'm curious, but I've been working with so many writers for the last couple of years. We've done something like 66 table reads of Writers Guild and Blacklist and Coverfly and all these different professional writing groups and all that stuff. So we're constantly coming across really great cutting edge, high quality material.
I love that.
And so who knows, maybe we've already read a script that would be like an amazing vehicle for you.
Yeah.
I just don't know because so what would be the dream role?
So now I'm like thinking, trying to choose my words wisely.
No pressure. You can tell me later too, but yeah.
I haven't actually done anything I haven't done like drama per se, really since The Legend of Master Legend. Mm-hmm. Like I booked that and then I kind of just, everything started getting funnier from there. Mm-hmm. And like I got to play some badass characters on Those Who Can't, which is a comedy on True TV. It's so great. Not a lot of people watch it, but it's great. And I got to play a really awesome character on that. That was so fun. But other than that, and that's still comedy, but like obviously I was not, like that was the joke of it. But like now with Amy Poehler, it's comedy, which Lauren, sorry, sidebar. I think I said that to you when I was going in for the audition. I was like, I would really love Amy to see me do comedy.
Yes. And
because it was the lead role of this film is like a huge activist, like she's a boss ass bitch, and which I am also that. But I literally remember telling Lauren, like, this is so great, but I really wish Amy could see me do comedy. Mm-hmm. And so then when she called about the other role, and then I went to see her for like the session, I just got to put up the scenes. And it's comedy, and it's the only comedic character in the film. And I'm just kind of like, how did Amy even see me for
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, I don't even know how she kind of, well, the film is a comedy, but like a young adult Netflix comedy, so it's not like that in your face. But so my character is though, and I was like, how did she even see me for that? I don't even know. Maybe I manifested that just because I said, I really wish Amy Poehler could see me do comedy. Incredible. Because I am great at comedy. Well, like now I feel like shit for saying that. But I try really hard. I didn't used to be good. I took a lot of classes, a lot of comedy classes to like hone some craft. Yeah. And I make bold choices. So I mean, I think that has a lot to do with it too.
So you want to do something dramatic?
I do.
Yeah.
I want to do something dramatic.
I'm looking at a script right now that I'll send you that you might find is like awesome.
Okay, please do. I want to do something dramatic. I feel like I really have it in me, guys. I'm like, people haven't really been able to see me do it, but I feel like Cynthia Erivo is my spirit animal, okay? Like, she is my spirit actor woman, and she is so amazing, and she just is Harriet. If you haven't seen Harriet, she's going to win an Oscar. She's going to be an EGOT. I just know it. Incredible. I feel it, and then she's phenomenal, and Black people usually also always win Oscars when we're playing slaves, so there's that.
Well, the actress that actually played this read this role for the table read was Aaliyah Royale. They read for this. Yeah. So she's the one who read this part that I'm thinking of you for this script.
Oh my gosh, amazing!
So it'd be so fun. Okay, so here's another one of the main questions that I have for you, which is. You've been through this journey from background to lead and series regular and all that. So and I just absolutely am so grateful and love that we were able to reconnect and I was able to hear you speak because I am so impressed and so excited for you and proud of, whatever you've been able to achieve so far. And I can't wait to watch you just grow and from here. And so, but what information would you like people to hear that you think could help them sustain themselves through this journey? Because you're the perfect example of somebody who's grinded it out and worked their ass off and invested in their career and had issues around just keeping their enthusiasm up or their devotion or passion up through all the adversity, things like that.
Right.
And so, what do you think people need to hear?
A few things. First of all, you are worthy, deserving, and capable. But secondly, community is everything. I think if I've learned anything, it's the people that I surround myself with.
Amen.
Will absolutely be the reason you fail or succeed. I mean, I feel like when I was doing background, because I was new here, I didn't have friends in LA. So the friends I made were people I met on set doing background. I'm only friends with like 2 of those people now because so many of them were so negative. And it's really negative. It is easy to be negative when you're feeling unseen, right? Or or like not heard or whatever it might be. And so I was actually fallen into the trap where I was very negative. And then one of the friends who I'm still friends with, she actually called me out and was like, "You're really negative and like you need to stop." And I was like, what? But it was different because she is not an actor. She was just doing background for the money, and now she works at a school and she's a teacher. But it was easy. I'm like, that's easy for you to say. You don't even want to do this. Like, you don't even want this, Like, I'm the one who wants it. And so, but she called me out and she gave me this book called The Magic by Rhonda Byrne, who wrote also The Secret. That book changed my life. I didn't even know what gratitude was till I read that book. So then I realized, all these negative ass people that I'm around are just pouring their negativity into me and I'm eating it up and now I'm walking around negative. So I need to start finding positive people that I like to hang out with and figure that out. So, I mean, just in different acting classes and things like that, most of my friends now, my current friends, like my current friend group, is from the acting program Lauren and I did. Like 90%, I'd say, like, which is a really high percent.
Which program was that?
It was Career Activate. Changed my life 100%. And I still tell people about it and whatever.
I know Jonah. She's a dear friend.
Yes. Yeah. It's not for everyone, but it was for me. And I'm really grateful to Jonah that she did that. And I'm grateful. I mean, it's a very expensive program. But at the end of when I think about everything I've gained from then, if I would have had no success in acting, if I would have never booked anything, just the friends I've gained, it's priceless. Priceless. Just by the people that I've surrounded myself with and how it's changed my life. Well,
because, in even that financial barrier, right? Like you don't commit to something like that unless you're really serious about what you want to do.
Yes.
So you're surrounding yourself with people that have to make this work. Otherwise it's not worth it.
Everyone in it has that same drive and passion and like desire to do it together.
Right. And even to find yourself in that program, you've had to go through something that made you say, all right, I don't know what else to do. I'm willing to spend this amount of money because I have nothing else to lose. I literally have no other option. Yeah. Right. And so then there's a very community thing. But community is everything. Believing in yourself. And also, I think if I could have gone back and told myself some things, I'd probably like tell myself, like, you're going to be okay. Like, you're going to be okay. Even when you think you're fucking not, like, you're going to be okay. And also, like, what I was trying to say earlier, or what I was starting to say earlier, is like, build a life for yourself. I wish I kind of would have gone back. I mean, not gone back. If I were to go, I'm grateful. I'm happy where I'm at. I'm only looking forward. But I think now in my present tense, I'm noticing now I really want to build a life for myself more than just this industry. And I would probably tell people, build a life. There's this quote I saw on, or this meme I saw on Instagram, and it said, don't get so busy building a career that you forget to build a life. And that really hit me because I was like, oh my God, I've been spending all these years, all this time only focused on that. And I had there was this workshop that I was going to take because now I'm getting into voiceover. That's something I really want to do too.
Awesome.
And I took Elaine Craig's workshop, which was great. And I was going to take the next one. And it was like $500 for like a one-day thing. But my best friend, who's now in the Navy, who I grew up with from childhood, he's in the Navy, only had 1 week off the rest of the year in Seattle because he was recently deployed. So now he's back and I haven't seen him in a really long time. And I was like, well, I could take this workshop. She doesn't have any more workshops the rest of this year. Or I can go see my best friend who only has this one weekend off the rest of the year. I'm going to go see my friend.
Good for
because
you.
this is so much more important than this fucking workshop. You know, it will be there when I get back. Voiceover is not going anywhere. But my friendship with him and like, I've known it, I call him, he's like my boo daddy. He's my best friend. He's going to be the man of honor in my wedding and whatever man he decides to marry too, you know? So that to me matters so much more than a fucking workshop or even than a voiceover job. Even if I would have booked, honestly, I literally was like, if I were to book a job, I would have been like booked out that weekend. Like literally I'm not available because that matters more. So I think taking time for yourself, your family, your friends, being there for the people in your life. Like I'm committed right now, like the next 2 weekends, I'm not available because I have 2 nephews who are born kind of back to back and I have to go to their birthday parties. People are like, what are you doing this weekend? I'm like, I'm going out of town. I'm going to my nephew's birthday parties. I'm committed because seeing my nephews grow up is more important than like that really cool event at Cosmo, which is cool, you know, but my nephew only turns 3 once, right? And I know that in the future in my career, I'm legit not going to be available or will legit not be in town, like not in the state, you know? So I won't be able to get there. And so I'm like, so I want to be there as much as I can while I'm available. Yeah. And so, yeah, I don't get to go to that cool event my publicist invited me to, but I'm sorry.
There will be more.
There will be more events. Like my nephew matters more. So that to me is a part of building a life. And I mean, maybe that's different for everyone, right?
Well,
building a life.
Part of just, building life, what you're saying also to me is just have other things going on that fulfill you besides just acting,
exactly
like whether it's building a life or just having other things that enrich your life. And, I've gotten really heavily involved in volunteering for our union over the last 4 years, especially the last 2.5 years, which has been such a huge part, 20 plus hours a week. I'm doing different things. Amazing. And it's been that way for a couple of years now. And it has completely transformed my life. It's given me community in ways that I never had before. I'm interacting with people that I never thought I would ever meet, that I saw watching in movies and TV shows growing up, that are now I was talking to Patricia Richardson on the phone before you got here. And I watched every episode of Home Improvement growing up with my family. And now we're working together for the LA Local and all that stuff. And it's just, so it's been so inspiring to have other things in my life besides just the pursuit of this work.
100%.
And so I think that is so important.
Absolutely. And I'm getting back. I've been volunteering for the Children's Hospital over the last 4 years. I was the host I haven't done it this year, but I'm getting back. This is my first month back. But I've hosted weekly events there for 4 years. I've been doing that for 4 years. And so now I've been finding other areas of my life in which matter to me, which now has been equality.org. I really love working with them because my passion for giving back has almost also turned into activism. And so those things that are important to me, so reminding myself that I can do those things too. Those don't stop because I'm an actor, you know. If anything, they should keep going, because if anything, at the end of the day, I don't necessarily think I have a platform yet, but maybe a smaller, whatever. We all look at ourselves differently, but I think what I want to do and build with my platform is to always be a person for the people, and someone who I want people to always remember that about me. She fucking not only cared about herself, but she cared about others.
Hey, we're all in danger of ending up with a platform. So be ready.
Right. Yeah.
Be ready for knowing.
And I hope that when that time comes, right? And there's so many actors that we can look up to. Yeah. I look at the things that Yara Shahidi's doing, and she's barely 18, and she is doing phenomenal things with her platform. And even things I've seen that Gina Rodriguez has done over the years. And, just so many people that I'm see, that's the type of shit,
But I think that's also why we want to see that people deserve their success and are nice, because they have a platform, and we want them to be good influences on the world and the community, not negative ones.
Yeah. And you're already doing that, with Instagram. You're constant, I think I keep up with the news relatively well and what's going on, but you are constantly sharing new articles, new petitions, new things that I'm wow, I wasn't aware this was happening. And you already are using your platform to better society. So it's clearly that's only going to grow. And I think that's so amazing.
Yeah. Thank you. I try.
One of the things you said that made me think of about, surrounding yourself with great people. The guy that I met this last couple of years, a guy named Matt Keener, and he's a writer and like a story doctor and professional and stuff. And he called something that I've started using myself, the struggle community echo chamber. The struggle community echo chamber. That you get around people that are struggling and they all share that negativity amongst each other in like this echo chamber of negativity. And it just drags people down. And then if you have a win or if you have an inspiring moment or when you get out of that mentality and then you go back to that community that's trading all this negativity, it can suck you right back into that negativity. It's this, that's the kind of community where people are afraid to share their successes because they don't want other people to feel bad about themselves because nobody can celebrate anybody else's success because it means that's a reminder of where I'm not. And everything is just jealousy and envy and coveting and it shouldn't be this hard and blah, blah. There's all there's all this negativity and we have to get outside of that because you are what you eat. Whoever you surround yourself with is going to become part of who you are.
1,000%.
And then another thing that makes me think of, there's a phrase that's really cheeseball when I say it, but I've started to incorporate it this last couple of years of called like being the fire. And what I mean by that is it feels like in LA, and since I think we've all been in that journey, is that, you come here from all over the world. Very few of us are actually from here. Right. So you come here from all over the world, and it's kind of like you're alone and cold in the wilderness, like trudging through the snow, through this dark forest, like trying to find your way to a career somewhere. Mm-hmm. And what ends up happening is, like, if you imagine all these cold, shuddering people, like, all separated from each other, just trying to find their way in this cold, lonely wilderness. And then you see a fire in the distance. Where's everybody going to aggregate? Everyone's going to go to the fire to get warmth. And then once you're warming yourself by the fire, you can say, oh, hey, like, why don't you and I start building a shelter? And why don't you get some like food? And why don't we? And you start organizing with people when they have the shelter of a fire, and you can build a whole city around one source of fire.
Wow.
So we can all be that fire. You as an individual can be that bonfire, that fire in the cold that just takes care of those around you and gives them a chance to breathe and collaborate and coordinate, and suddenly you've got this thriving community of people that are taking care of each other. But every one of us has the opportunity to be that fire in the cold.
That's so good.
What a beautiful,
that's
visual
so good.
analogy. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, so even though it's kind of a cheesy thing to say, be the fire, but to me it means something very deep.
Totally. Yeah, I love that. Mm-hmm. I love that. And absolutely, fuck yeah, be the fire. Mm-hmm. That makes me want to walk around like, be the fire, I'm the fire. Yeah, you're the fire, we're the fire.
That's right.
Yes. Oh, that's so beautiful. Thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you.
And I used to feel like, I used to tell my mom when she would, my mom was a discrimination investigator growing up. My dad was a peace officer. So I grew up with a criminal justice background, which is like, no wonder I'm like such an activist, right?
Yes.
And my parents actually met volunteering at a voter registration booth. So it's in my blood.
Incredible.
It's in my blood. And so I used to explain to my mom when I was doing background, like, Mom, I feel like I'm at Six Flags and I'm in line for a ride, but I'm not allowed to get on it. Like, I'm just waiting there. And sometimes I'm moving up in the line, and then sometimes they just let people in the fast lane go in front of you, and you just have to wait.
Oof.
So I feel like that's what it felt like for me. And watching, and I was like, and all I can do is sit and watch everyone else live their dream and have the best time on this ride. And my mom, that was like the only way to get her to be like, I get it. And I was like, that's how I feel. And so now being the person I think who's on the ride, because I feel like I absolutely am on the ride. I'm fucking on it. And it's great. It is so great. And I'm so grateful. I feel like to those people who feel like they're in line and they just can't get in the fast lane and they're stuck in this line, keep standing in the line. Literally keep standing. Because there were so many moments where I felt like I just want to leave this line because it's too long. Mm-hmm. You know, because we do that, right? We're like, this line's too long. I'm just going to go and maybe I'll come back. Because a lot of times you don't come back. You'll leave that line and be like, I found this other line. I'm just going to do that. I'm going to whatever, you know? So like, if it feels like it's too long and you really, really want it, like keep standing in the line because eventually you have to get to the front. It has to be your turn.
Yeah.
Eventually.
Yeah.
So I literally kept holding on to that visualization with myself, with being like, well, if I keep standing in the line, eventually it's my turn. Eventually it's my turn. And eventually it was my fucking turn, because it's also math. Like, it just has to be your turn eventually. And like, the ride's Hollywood's not going anywhere. The ride's not going to break down. You know what I mean? Like, some rides do, but this one is not. It's always going. It's constantly going.
Well, when the one thing I'll say to that I think is empowering from the opposite direction.
Yeah.
Is that you don't have to go on this ride.
Yeah.
You know, if you're in the line, it's because you're willing to do the wait. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And nobody's forcing you to be in that line. Nobody at home, don't worry what anybody else is going to think about you or say about you or whatever it is. Maybe you're scared of rides and you're only on this because like it was just, somebody forced you into it, or it was something that just felt like the next thing to do, or you've already spent so much time in this line that like to leave now, it's like, even though you're not happy, it's like, well, I've already waited for 4 hours or like, no, like if you are a ride thrill seeker, that's where you belong.
Yeah.
You belong in line. Otherwise, get the fuck out of line, because there's other people who want to be in that line.
Absolutely. That's a great point too. A lot of actor friends who I've had, I noticed, and I was contemplating this too, as I was telling you earlier, like sometimes thinking like, maybe I'm done with acting. Like maybe that's it.
That's so okay.
I was going to say, that's fine. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with being like, actually, maybe this isn't for me. That's how I was when I went to college. I felt, and not anymore, actually, up until right now in my life, I think I've always looked back at the past, and I can say that maybe the first time I'm more excited about looking to the future than looking back at the past, which is really, for me, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
Because I think you're raised in, like, I'm a Black woman, so I'm raised to be like, you have to become an educated Black woman. You have to. Like, in my family, it was just like, not negotiable. Like, you have to, because if you don't, you literally won't succeed at anything else. There are going to be way too many things against you. And the one thing you can always say is, I have my degree. I have this. Like, I've done that. And so I've really felt for a long time I failed my parents, or like failed my family, because I decided it wasn't for me. Like, it's not for me. Then I come to LA and I'm on this struggle bus, and they're just looking at me like, girl, what the hell are you doing? And I just knew, though, because I wanted to be in the line, right? Like, no one was forcing me to be there. I wanted it. I wanted to be in that line. And so, but at any moment, if I would always tell myself, at any moment, I don't want this, I don't have to be here. You don't have to be here. You don't have to be paying crazy amounts of money for rent to live in LA when you could live in Nebraska for $400 and have a house. Like, there's no, you don't have to be here, And
there's an aspect to it too, where people talk about how hard dating in LA is, or we hear about like how much relationships really struggle, in this business. And I'm like, well, what do you expect from a town where people have sacrificed everything for an attempt to live the most full, fulfilling life they could possibly dream of?
Yeah.
This is not a crowd that settles. This is not a crowd that is like, oh, I'm going to settle for second best. This is like a crowd that came here to be number one on the call sheet. And everything is about getting there. And if you're either part of that or you're not part of that, you're either helping me with that or you're in my way.
Yes.
And there's a part of that that's dangerous, because then you can treat people as disposable or not see how uniquely important and valuable every person is. And that actually having a really stable, loving, committed relationship can give you such a foundation to build a life on, so that at least you've got that stability in your life. But it's not easy for many of us to like think of it that way, because in the rest of our life, we've already put it all on the line.
Yes. Yeah. And like actors who I've met who are like, but I'm just like, I'm in my 30s now. I want to get married. I want to have kids. I'm like, so why don't you do that? Where is this going? Like, no one says you can't, and what's such a beautiful story. Woman who plays my mom on Stargirl, her name is Karen Moore. And she was an actor growing up and, in her younger life. And then she had gotten married. She has two teenagers. I could be wrong, maybe 3. I don't remember. But anyways, and then she'd moved to Atlanta with her husband and her family, I think for his job, if I'm right. I'm not 100% sure. And then was like, the film industry just kind of like came to Atlanta, just like more and more. And so she was like, oh my gosh, I can do that thing I've always wanted to do. But I, stopped doing because I wanted these other aspects of my life. Yeah. And then she got an agent and has been auditioning, and she had booked other things, of course, but this is just a story she told me because she plays my mom on the show. And when she was filming Stargirl, she had booked this huge series called The Oval for Tyler Perry on BET. And she plays the first lady, who it's called The Oval, it's about a presidency. And she plays the first lady on it. It's her first series regular role. Wow. Being a local hire that she didn't think was possible. Like literally was like, there's no way. They always go to LA or they always go to New York or wherever. And yeah, the rest of the cast was cast in LA. She's right. But like, she was exactly where she was supposed to be, doing exactly what she was supposed to be doing. And like, who said you can't have the husband and can't have the kids and can't have the career? It just may not be in exactly the order in which we think it's supposed to happen or in the timeline in which we think it's supposed to happen. But like now she's in Times Square, like, you know what I mean? Wow. And she got to go on like all from Good Morning America, like Wendy Williams, all these shows and like do all these things and live her dream exactly how she wanted to do it. And I just been watching her on social media and I just texted her. I'm like, well, I'm so inspired by you and inspired by your story, because she went on Wendy Williams. I watched her interview and Wendy was like, so where'd you come from? And she was like, I've been doing this for years. You just didn't know who I was because I've been co-starring on all these shows that film in Atlanta, because it's not so often that local hires are going to be series regulars or even auditioning for them, period. And so she's like, when I had this, I knew it was mine and I just went for it. And Wendy was like, wow, like you just never hear that. And then she was like, I hear it all the time. But in the acting world, you know? And so it's so inspiring too, because she probably, I mean, I don't know exactly what she thought, but in my head, I'm like, she probably thought like, oh man, I guess that's that dream. I could put that under the rug.
Well, it brings up the point that you made, which is kind of like, at what point in your life have you made it? You know what I mean? Like, yes. In other words, like, what's the threshold? Like, if you're not successful by 22, have you not made it? If you're not successful by 32, by 42, by 52? I mean, if we saw somebody who was 60 or 70 who rocked a lead, an amazing feature, we'd be like, that was one of the best actors of all time. Like, she's awesome and successful. Like, who gives a shit at what point in your life you make it? If as long as you like get a chance to experience storytelling at that level, fuck it. Like, absolutely. Yeah.
And people have asked me that just recently. Like, do you feel like you made it? And I'm like, no. What is that even like? And I also wonder, would I even know if I quote unquote got there? Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Would I know that? Oh, I think I made it. You know what I mean? Have your next goal. And you're yes, like, this is because my goals don't ever stop ending.
Right. Like you have to define what that is for you. Yeah. So well, like, how do you define it? So what is the point that you think once you've gotten to that, you can just rest, assured that you've accomplished something really important? Because I think just making your living as a performer. If you can support yourself with your art, I think that's my definition of success.
I was going to say success. Yeah, I don't know about the whole like I've made it thing. I feel like maybe Ellen. I don't know. In my head, I don't actually know. In my head, I'm like, oh, you want Ellen? You made it. I don't know. Maybe when I'm on Ellen, I won't feel that way. You know, I don't know. But my definition of success changed a lot. Just in this past year. It used to be like my definition of success is like when I have a house and when I am like in a really great sexy man relationship, or when I don't fucking know, when I'm making $1 million a picture or whatever. And I think this year it changed a lot to be like, well, success for me is like if a family member needs to borrow $200, I can do that. And that might be so simple for a lot of people, but there were moments where like my family maybe needed something and I didn't have it. Like I just couldn't. Success to me is like, I went to Target the other day and like, I just bought stuff and didn't sit there and look at the price before I put it in my cart. Small things to me is success. Success to me is like feeling inner peace. Like that, to me, success is like, right now, I have the most amazing relationship with my mom that I've had in my entire life. Makes me emotional, but like that is success for me. Yeah. Like feeling like I'm whole as a human and not needing like a man. I used to do that. I used to put like, well, guys aren't talking to me. They're not in my DMs. So like, I guess I'm not cute. I feel fucking bomb. Like, good. Yes. I maybe gained 10 pounds and my booty's sitting right. And I eat my fries and I'm happy. And I've gained happy weight and I'm like living my dream. And that's success to me. Like little things. It doesn't have to, I still live in the same apartment I did before I booked all these things. I'm in the same place, the same bedroom, the same bathroom. Like I'm in the same thing with my cousin, living, right? Like I'm in the same place. I didn't like have this new home or whatever. And like, yes, of course I want that. I want to own property. That's a dream. That's also an investment idea like that I really want. But that doesn't define whether I'm successful or not, you know? Like I feel successful right now. And to be even honest, I can even say last year when I was feeling really discouraged, my mom and my dad were really, really there for me in a way that they haven't been before, because I don't think they ever knew. But now both my parents are retired, so they just had more time to spend with me. Like when I'm feeling really bad after an audition, I could call and just talk, and like that was success to me. You know, like my parents being there and supporting me, not in the way that I thought I had to do. Sorry.
No, that's so beautiful. This is why I was so excited you could be our first guest, because
that was success to me for sure.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't have to be this huge thing. Yeah,
it's just so inspiring. Yeah.
Well, that's a good note, actually. You know, that's a good note to kind of. Do you have any other kind of thoughts or questions?
I mean, I'm my final. Now that we got her in tears, I want to wrap this up with a fun rapid fire question.
Okay. There we go. This is
ready.
good. All right,
I'm ready. I'm excited.
Amazing. Okay, ready. So, you can hop on a plane right now and go anywhere in the world. Where
Greece.
are you going? Ooh. Okay.
Santorini specifically. I've been there before, but it's the best place on earth.
Amazing. Great. Best Halloween costume you've ever dressed up as?
Ninja Turtle.
Which one?
The green one. I don't know his name.
They're all green.
No, there's like, well, yes, they're green, but there's the one that has like the blue, the red,
stripes. Yeah.
the stripes. I was the green one, the one that had the green belt.
And any Ninja Turtle fans out there will know.
Yeah.
If you can have a magic power, what would it be?
Oh, power to heal.
What's your
Nice.
spirit animal?
Is that, so when people say that, is that a human or is
It's
that like,
whatever you define
or
it
is it
as.
like an actual animal?
I mean,
'Cause if
mine's
it's
a
an
gremlin,
actual
so.
animal, it might be like a koala bear because it's like, no, a panda bear. Panda bear, they sleep and eat. They're just fat and happy. It's great. And no one judges them. They just like, and they're cute. Just like cuddly. A panda bear, if it's a real, like if it's a human right now, this will probably change tomorrow, but it's Cynthia Erivo. I'm just obsessed with her. She's
Amazing.
like, even her style. I need her stylist. So good.
Call her up.
Yeah.
I'm sure she'd be happy to work with you. What is, if you had to eat one meal the rest of your life, every meal of the day, what would it be?
French fries.
From anywhere in particular?
Wingstop.
Okay.
Cajun
awesome.
fries.
Yum.
Ranch. There has to be ranch though. If there's not ranch, I can't do it.
Obviously.
Okay.
You bring 3 things to a desert island. What are they?
Oh, a desert island. Okay, so there's no Wi-Fi.
Oh, there can be Wi-Fi. We can include that.
We can?
Yeah, sure.
I would bring like if there's electricity, I'd bring an Instant Pot, right? To cook food.
That's so
'cause my ass
practical.
is lazy. And I would pick vegetables and stuff, right? And then I would bring a heated blanket if there was electricity. And I was gonna like my laptop. I'm realizing, wow, I'm so of the century. Like I'm like, can't live without electricity, can't live without Wi-Fi.
More than the phone. Laptop more than the phone.
I know. I didn't
do
even say
way
my
more
phone.
on there, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't say the phone. That's surprising. I should have said that.
Those are really smart practical survival things too, though. The heated blanket.
Right. I was gonna say
Never
like
thought
my
of that.
passport, but like it's stranded.
You're
so
stuck there, so no need for that. What do you think you were in your past life?
I've never really thought about that. I kind of just like live. I usually kind of just believe you only have one life. But if I did have a past life, I'd probably say I was a mother.
A mother?
A mother, like a mother who like really, really took care of like herself and her community. I think that's like something like a really deep inner part of myself that I don't really focus on. Yeah, I think I would probably be like a mother.
Oh,
like
that's amazing.
Mother Teresa, maybe.
If you can spend a day with anyone, alive or past, who would it be?
Oprah.
Oh my God,
I want to like
amazing.
go sit and like pick at her garden and like eat her lunch. And
I have
just
no
talk.
doubt you're going to be hanging out with Oprah one day very soon.
Oh, that's a dream.
Yeah.
I watched recently Oprah and Cynthia Erivo's thing, and they had lunch at her house, and I was like, I want that.
Goals.
I want to hang out with Oprah all day.
Yes. Yeah. All right, last one. If you could be the star of any TV or movie reboot that hasn't happened yet, what would it be?
Wow, that's so good. A reboot. God, that's so hard. Okay, the first, it's just going to blurt out the first thing that comes to my mind. The first show that comes to my mind, which changed my life growing up as a teenager, was Degrassi.
Oh, yes!
Which is still on, but I would only do like the first Degrassi, The Next Generation, like the first 6 seasons, like when Drake was there. Like only all of that.
Yeah.
Everything past that, I'm sorry for those of you I don't watch. I don't know.
That's fine.
But I would do that. If it was a film, God. Well, I would say like Coming to America, but I think that's actually happening. Oh. Or they're making
Well,
it
maybe they
Coming to
haven't
America
cast
too.
yet, so hey-o.
Yeah, I would be Coming to America. I would love to play, Coming to America. I don't know why that's the first thing that came off the top of my head, but it is.
Putting
Such
it
a
out
classic.
there.
Yeah, which I didn't think why did I say that? But that's all I can think of is Coming to America.
Amazing.
Vanessa Bell Calloway's character. Which also, I don't know why.
I love it.
I would do that.
Amazing. Okay, thank you so
Thank you for
much.
having me.
I'm so glad
This
you're
was so
able to
much
come.
fun.
This was so much
It was
fun.
so great.
Yeah.
Yay.
I got to talk and be real and cry.
Love
There's
it.
no judgment. I love it.
You got
All
me
right.
tearing up, so yeah, no judgment.
Where can everybody follow you or find you?
I'm at Anjelika W on everything. ANJELIKAW.
Awesome.
Thank you so much. This was so fun.